Good evening. So getting ready now for tomorrow. You should have your hydration stuff there and your protein shake. Again, like I said, whey protein's a wee bit better, but it doesn't really matter. It's all sixes. Even if you wanted to be quite honest, the protein is, like I explained yesterday in the video, it's vital for hitting those numbers. Now, if you can hit the right amount of protein, one of the best things to actually break your fast with is actually bone broth. Right? Bone broth just sort of, the collagen's very good and it lines the stomach, so again there's less of that insulin spike coming, but we're going to skip your protein for the purpose of this. Now remember, this is a 5-day challenge. It's going to be tough. We're going to try and make it as fun and as enjoyable and as enlightening as possible. I want to educate you quite a lot on fasting, different types of fasting, what the protocols are, how they work, what we can do. But see, this 5 days, like, you can't lose anything. The average weight loss should be roughly about half a stone, about 6 pounds. Again, for some people, probably a wee bit more. This protocol is very good. It's what we would call it, like a diet sprint. And what that means is, you could add on this 5-day protocol once a month, once a fortnight, right? Say if you did it once a month, say your diet just stayed the same, you weren't really on the diet and you find it very hard to restrict calories and stuff like that, but your weight's always pretty much staying the same. So the food you're eating maintains your body weight, you're not putting on more weight, it's just maintenance. Most women, especially the women that come to me in the gym, they have a pretty good diet. You know, their diet's pretty healthy from a healthy standpoint, but just the way they feel, it's just they struggle to lose weight consistently each week, because maybe there's a bit of overindulging at the weekend, they like to have a glass of wine, so the weight stays the same. So this is something you can add on, say, for 5 days, once a fortnight, once a month, and then the rest of the month, the rest of the time, you just eat normal. So it's very good from that point of view. You just add this on, take it out, add on, take it out. You want to away on holidays, add it on for 5 days before you go away. You're going on a wedding or something, maybe you've overindulged at the weekend, add this on for 5 days. So it's a very good protocol. We're going to use all the different kind of fasting protocols on this. I mean, for example, there's like a 16-8, and what that means is basically you're fasting for 16 hours and you're eating for 8. So you basically break your fast at 12 o'clock and finish eating at 8 in the evening. Now, see this 16-8, the 16-8 is probably one of the most common forms of fasting, but see, to be quite honest, the reason why this is a fact, the reason why it's 16 and 8 isn't because there's any magic number or ratio to the time on and off. Whenever the people were doing the research on this, they did it with rats first, rat sort of, and rodent models. They figure out what was happening from an autophagy point of view, which I'll explain in another video, and from a weight loss point of view. But the reason why it was 16 and 8, because the students that were conducting the research were only in the lab for 8 hours. That's why it's 18 and 8 and 16. No other reason, not because it's more beneficial or anything, but that's just what the research was done under, and that time frame. So the students would have fed the rats while they were in university for the 8 hours, and then the rats wouldn't get fed for the other 16. That's the only reason it's that length of time. There's nothing magic about it. Now, see, from a weight loss point of view, and I want to make this very, very clear, from a weight loss point of view, there's nothing magical about fasting. There's no magic sort of thing that happens. There's no magic way to eat fat better than anything else. What it is, it's a way to condense calories. It's much easier, for me personally, but from what I've seen in the past, it's much easier for people to just not eat than it is to restrict calories. So for example, if I've got 2,000 calories I have to eat in a day, it's much easier for me just to condense all those into 4 hours, so I can have 2 huge big meals rather than having wee small meals, small and often during the day. That just makes me hungry, so it doesn't really work well for me. So I like fasting. So there's different protocols we're going to use. The one that we're going to use tomorrow is we're going to have our first meal at 1 o'clock. So we're going to eat from 1 until 8. So that's a 7-hour eating window. The rest we're going to be fasting. Now, we're also going to break that fast at 12:30, 30 minutes before that meal, with your protein shake. Now, the meals itself, like I said yesterday in the video, you want to try and make the meal specific to the first meal, protein and fat only, or as much as possible. If you want to really make this even better, again, I'm going to try and we want to try and get the most absolute possible out of this. If you wanted to be really, really hardcore with this, The best diet protocol then, or the best nutrition protocol then, would be keto. So you're basically no carbs at all, because what takes us into a fast is the fact that we've used all the glycogen. Glycogen is basically just sugar in the bloodstream. Whenever we eat food, specifically carbohydrates, we get an elevation of blood sugars. Insulin comes and stores that in the muscles, stores it in the liver, stores it in the fat cells, anything left over. So it's glycogen, blood sugars. So if we're not eating carbohydrate, if we're fasting, first of all, we're depleting all that because we're not eating anything. So the body has to tap on the body fat then, because there's no other energy available. So we tap on that body fat. Now, if you then have a keto diet, there's even less glycogen coming in. So whenever you go to bed then at night, remember when you have you finish your last meal, say 8 o'clock at night, and you sleep, that's a fast. But because of the glycogen in the system, because of the energy that's in the system from the meals that you ate, it does take between 6 and 8, sometimes 10 hours for all that blood glucose to actually deplete itself while you're sleeping, because you're using energy when you're sleeping for you to actually get to a pure fasted state. Fasted doesn't mean you're just not eating. It means that there's literally your blood sugar levels have dropped down to baseline and slightly lower, so the body starts to release glucagon. Glucagon is the hormone that the pancreas releases to use fat for fuel. So you cannot burn body fat unless there's glucagon present. So if you eat food, you have insulin. Insulin is the energy storing hormone. Whenever the blood sugar levels drop below baseline, the body releases glucagon to release energy to put it into the bloodstream. Does that make sense? So you have to understand how quick can we get into that fasted state when we go to bed at night. So having no carbohydrates in your meal will take you into that fasted state even quicker. There's other things we can do as well too. For example, after your last meal, go for a 30-minute walk. So you're using the energy that you've eaten, you're trying to use it up, the energy in the bloodstream, so it can't store. And another good way to push this forward as well too is to go for a walk first thing in the morning. So as soon as you wake up, a good 30-minute walk, I mean a good power walk for 30 minutes. Again, guys, we're doing this for 5 days. It's only 5 days, right? Now, if you wanted to make this even better, which most of you know that work with me, is we then do weights as well. So if you're doing resistance training, remember resistance training is anaerobic, which means it's specifically draining the glycogen from the muscle cells. So think about this, we want to get in a fasted state so that we start to use fat for fuel. So 1, we're going a long period of time with no food. 2, we're going to reduce carbohydrates so we don't put any energy back into the system. 3, we're going to go for a walk before we go to bed so we use up the blood sugars so we can get into that fasted state quicker. And as soon as we wake up, because we're completely fasted, we're going to go for a 30-minute walk, a bit longer if you want, but minimum 30 minutes. So what that 30-minute walk is actually burning pure body fat. Because there's nothing in your system. You've woke up, there's no energy there, you've depleted it during the night. We're going to get that fat burning ramped up. And then if you can, then preferably you do weights, a good resistance session, about 11:30, 12, take your protein shake at 12:30, have your first meal at 1. That would be the ideal scenario. That would be like perfect. Right, you do that for the 5 days, like you're going to lose, Jesus, you're talking about maybe between half a stone and a stone there easily of good sustainable weight loss, meaning weight loss that we don't put back on again. Now, if you followed that protocol even once a month, every single month, you would never struggle with dieting again, because the objective here is that we don't get into that yo-yo habit of putting weight on, losing it, putting weight on, losing it, because of the bad sort of diet habits that you have, people not understanding diet, you know, over restriction, too little calories, deprivation, all that kind of stuff. Whereas we're here, you do it for 5 days, you take the rest of the month off, do what you want, and then let's do it again. Or if we're struggling, you want to push, do it once a fortnight. It's only 5 days. Give it absolutely hell, get everything you can from it. So that's the protocol. So what we're trying to think about then when we do eat is, you're thinking, right, well, what eat if there's no carbs, right? For breakfast, remember, breakfast just means breaking a fast. So the first meal that you eat is your breakfast, breaking a fast breakfast. Say eggs and avocado, right? That's my favorite. I'll have 5 scrambled eggs, half an avocado. Perfect. What I'll try and do then is I'll have a couple of beef burgers. And I try to go full fat beef burgers, none of this skinny stuff or none of these turkey burgers, none of that stuff, because we want those essential fat. We want all the fatty acids coming in and high protein. Have that like a salad or something when we're no bun, no burger, because we're trying to stay in that keto state. At night then, chicken, fish, meat, whatever, you know. And even in your last meal, it's not that big a deal having some carbohydrates, but just minimize them as much as possible. What you don't want to do here is get into that trap of eating foods that you don't usually eat. So for example, if your dinner at night, tomorrow night's going to be spaghetti bolognese with a family, just have more mince than you do pasta. Just make those wee sort of distinctions, because it's not always realistic to think that you're going to eat something different from everybody else. That changes your shopping bill, it changes your habits, and it's not sustainable. We're trying to make this as sustainable and as enjoyable as possible for 5 days. So it's not going out of your way to have to buy something different, make something different, but make the best of what we have. Now, if you can, you can, but we're trying to really make this as good as we can. But for it to be good, it's got to be simple, it's got to be sustainable, it's got to be enjoyable. So that's the protocol for tomorrow. Now, the fasting times will change over the 5 days. I'm not going to tell you what they are just yet. We're going to take this one day at a time. All right, now, my advice here is please stay very active in the group. There's people in the group who've been doing fasting for me for quite a while. If you have any questions, if you're struggling, you're thinking, Jesus, I'm getting it tight, I'm not going to be able to last the next hour, put it in the group, because everybody will help you and support you. That's why these groups are absolutely fantastic for doing challenges, because you've got that network of support of people who are doing the same thing. I'm going to be following this for the next 5 days as well too. I'm going to do the same protocol. So we put up a picture of your meal if you think, right, this is a good idea for somebody to see what a keto meal is. What's your protein shake look like? All those kind of stuff. Remember, when you're fasting, there is no calories. So black tea, black coffee, green tea. Let's forget about tea with a splash of milk. I know for some people, if you're doing this intermittent fasting all the time, you're doing a wee bit intermittent fasting, say the 16 and you're doing it 5-6 days a week, then a wee splash of milk is fine. But because we're trying to really maximize this from a fat burning point of view for 5 days, try not to have a tea with milk in it. And I've had this conversation with people before, right? And it's, oh, but I need my cup of tea. Jesus Lord, you're not 5. You can go without a cup of tea for a couple of days until we get think about it. I could potentially be losing over half a stone here in 5 days. I'm sure I can sacrifice a bloody cup of tea where we splash of milk in it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's only 5 days. Saturday morning, when we wake up Saturday morning, you have as much tea and milk as you want. But give it everything you've got. If you're going to come on board with this, give it everything. For anybody that's on here doing this challenge, and they're not in the gym, or they're not in the gym with me, if you want to give me a shout, I'll book you in for a couple of sessions, 4 or 5 sessions over the next 4 or 5, well 3, because I won't be here for 2, but 3 sessions to help you maximize that fat burn by getting the resistance done, because resistance really is the key to 1, muscle preservation, and 2, maximizing your metabolism and burning as much glycogen as possible, so we tap into that fat as soon as we can. Please watch out for more of these videos where I'm going to try and give you more information. Tomorrow I'm going to break down what we're going to be doing Tuesday, but also give you a wee bit of insight into autophagy and what is autophagy, how does autophagy work, how do we maximize autophagy, do you know what I mean? As well as why, from a hormonal point of view, how does this work. Also, I want to break some myths about fasting, and also some things that you need to be really aware about if you're going to be doing this on a regular basis, specifically women and hormonal balance. All right, any questions, anything, even if you want to rant about your starving fucking hunger, stick it up in the group, because it really is the support network of the group that's going to actually help to benefit this the most. All right, have a good day.